A phone screen, white text against dark. The board wants a name for gold's replacement by Friday. 4 candidates under consideration. Daniel sets the phone face down on the passenger seat of a Honda Civic. Not in frustration, not in avoidance, the way you set down something you have already finished processing. The bag in the back seat has a DoorDash logo on it. The Portillo's order is sealed and warm. Michigan Avenue moves outside the window at 7:14 a.m. He pulls into traffic. Most people managing $500 million don't know what their city smells like at 7 in the morning. I made a decision a long time ago not to be one of them. You don't build what I've built by trusting the version of Chicago that exists in boardrooms. You build it by understanding the version that exists at street level, before the press releases, before the broker calls, before the deal is already done, and someone else made the move you should have made. He does not look at the phone again. The car merges left. Chicago opens around him. The lake still dark at the edge of the sky. The loop beginning to light up floor by floor. The position had been vacant for 6 days. The board had 4 candidates under consideration. None of them were the right answer. I wasn't worried about that. The right answer was never going to come from the board's consideration set. It never does. 11 companies, combined operating value just north of $500 million. Finance, logistics, hospitality, construction, real estate. None of them named after me. That was a decision I made before the first one was profitable. And it is the decision I am most certain was correct. The finance arm holds $120 million in structured commercial loans to mid-market operators across Chicago and the collar counties. He doesn't lend to the largest companies in any sector. He lends to the second and third largest, the ones with traction and no access to the capital the dominant players take for granted. He has never had a default in 11 years, not because he chose carefully, because he chose upstream. The operators other lenders overlooked, the ones whose fundamentals were real and whose only problem was access. The logistics company manages last mile distribution for 3 hospital systems. The contract pays $4.7 million annually. Nobody bids against him anymore. They tried 3 years ago. The bid was competitive. His numbers were better because his operations were leaner. They tried the year after that. His numbers were still better. They don't try anymore. The hospitality group owns a boutique hotel in the West Loop and 2 private dining venues. One of the venues serves no menu. You call ahead. They cook what they cook that day. The reservation list has a 14-month wait. He has never once discussed this publicly. The people who know about it tell other people who are worth telling. That is the only marketing it has ever needed. And then gold. Gold construction. Named not after a man, named after a standard. 34 city contracted structures in 6 years. Perfect inspection record. The fastest, cleanest operation in the city's construction pipeline. Not because we cut corners, because we never had to. When your work is honest from the beginning, you don't spend half your schedule fixing what should have been done right the first time. He pulls onto a residential street on the near north side. The building ahead, 60 units, established market value of $14 million, is one he holds a 60% stake in. He parks without announcing this to anyone. There is no announcement to make. He picks up the bag and walks toward the entrance. Marcus Gold ran that company for 7 years. I built Marcus Gold over the 7 years before that. Identified him when he was a project manager running $3 million jobs on time and under budget in conditions that would have broken everyone else in his cohort. I invested in him the way I invest in everything: time first, then access, then capital, then the specific rooms that would develop the specific capacities I could already see he had. He stepped down last week. Personal reasons, real ones. That story belongs to him, not to this one. The lobby is marble and glass. A doorman nods. Daniel nods back. The name gold was never about Marcus. I chose it deliberately. Companies named after people become monuments to ego. Companies named after standards become institutions. The standard is still there. I need someone who can carry it. I don't yet have an answer for who that is. He presses the elevator button. I was about to. The elevator arrives. He steps in. She is crossing the lobby at a pace that says she does not intend to wait for the next one. She makes it. The doors close behind her. Phone already pressed to her ear, mid-sentence, already 3 thoughts ahead of wherever the conversation started. Asterisk. The acquisition timeline has to move up. Chen wants it closed before Q3, and I need the ops audit completed before I can even begin to recommend. No, listen to me. If the audit isn't done right, I'm not signing off on anything. I don't care what Chen wants. I care what's actually true. Daniel presses 6, faces the door, listens. Asterisk. The gap between what people say and what they do is where all the real information lives. But sometimes what they say is the entire map. If you're paying attention to the right things, she's not describing a deal. She's describing the shape of her own standard. The audit has to be right before she will move. She will not be pressured past that. That is not a negotiating position. That is architecture. She is describing a construction company acquisition. The other party is not named, but the structure she is describing, the Q3 pressure, the ops audit requirement, the language around certification, places it in a specific corner of a specific industry. In a city Daniel has spent 11 years learning at ground level. Something goes quiet in his processing. Not recognition yet. Something before recognition. The shape of a familiar outline, not yet fully visible. The 5th floor arrives. He has been watching the floor numbers. He has not looked at her once. 5, right? He says. Not a question. The door is already opening. She stops mid-sentence, looks up. He is facing the open door, not her. A beat. She steps off. One glance back. Quick, composed, the assessment of someone who has learned to read situations faster than situations reveal themselves. He doesn't look. The door closes. Asterisk. She read the entire elevator, clocked me at entry, ran the assessment, decided I wasn't worth the performance of being noticed. That is not dismissal. Dismissal is reactive. What she did was deliberate. She has operated in rooms where performance is currency for long enough that she knows exactly when not to spend it. That is a specific kind of intelligence, the kind that is either grown through hard experience or not grown at all. Asterisk, one more thing. She didn't break the call for the floor. She kept her attention on the work. Most people would have paused, smiled, performed basic social courtesy. She kept the attention where it belonged. I noticed that too. He calls his assistant before he reaches the 6th floor apartment. Within 4 hours, he has everything. May Lopez, Vice President of Operations, Steel Construction Group, 38 years old, born in Chicago, 2nd generation Mexican-American, raised in Pilsen. 11 years in the industry, promoted 3 times in 7 years. The kind of track record that does not happen by accident and does not happen through politics. It happens when someone is both genuinely skilled and constitutionally unable to accept credit for work that isn't done correctly. Her performance reviews across 5 years are consistent in a specific way. Every supervisor, in different language, notes the same thing. She identifies operational inefficiency faster than people who have been in the building longer. She asks questions that make management uncomfortable. Not because the questions are aggressive, but because they are the questions management should have been asking first and didn't. She is the first person in her family to reach a VP title. Her mother, May Lopez, 63, is recovering from a hip replacement at a rehabilitation facility in Lincolnwood. Major orthopedic reconstruction. 3 times a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. May makes the drive herself from wherever she is to pick her mother up and sit with her through the 2-hour physical therapy sessions. She has rearranged her entire work schedule around this. She will not delegate it. While her mother is in the sessions, May walks the Lincolnwood Mall. Same route each time, same coffee from the same counter, same bench near the east entrance where she reads or calls her sister in San Antonio. Daniel sits with this for a moment. Asterisk. She takes care of what she's responsible for. That's not information I can use strategically. That's just information I now carry. Then Steele. Steele? Construction Group. I know this name. 3 years ago, Steele was internally investigated by the city's Contract Oversight Office for submitting project bids built on undocumented immigrant labor at below market rates, a practice that undercut every legitimate contractor in the pipeline and exposed those workers to conditions that were not legal, not safe, and not documented anywhere a regulator could find them easily. The investigation was suppressed before it reached public record. 3 city officials were paid a combined $340,000 across 2 years, dispersed in amounts small enough to avoid automatic review thresholds, routed through 2 intermediaries, documented nowhere, that connected directly to Steele's operating accounts. The right language was used in the right meetings. The story disappeared. He pauses. They are still operating. The question is not whether they are doing it again. The question is whether they ever stopped. Back to May. The piece that completes the picture. She has been VP of Operations for 14 months. In every role she has held, her employers have promoted her because they cannot afford not to. She is that good. And in every role she has held, they have withheld things from her for the same reason. She asks questions that find the truth. The solution, from the perspective of people with something to hide, is to control what she has access to. Asterisk. She is making correct decisions inside a corrupted map. The audit she is demanding, the one she won't sign off without. She is demanding it because she already feels the shape of something wrong without being able to see the thing itself. She is the most dangerous kind of person to be in that building, and she is the most dangerous position to occupy. Skilled, committed, operating on incomplete information, and about to be asked to put her name on something she doesn't fully understand. Thursday morning, the Lincolnwood Mall, 9:47 a.m. Daniel is at a coffee counter near the east entrance when she comes in. He did not manufacture the coincidence. He removed the obstacles between himself and a moment that was already trying to form. Asterisk, I don't manufacture circumstances. I identify the ones already in motion, and I stop blocking them. She sees him. The elevator man. No performance of surprise. She doesn't try to produce what she doesn't feel. That tells him something. You're not delivering anything, she says. Not today. They walk, not together exactly, adjacent, the way two people move when neither has decided yet whether they are moving together, and both are too precise to decide before they have enough information. She asks what he does. He says he invests in things. She asks what kind of things. He says structures mostly, things that need to be built correctly or they eventually fall. She nods the way someone nods at a complete sentence, absorbing it without decorating it with reaction. You're in construction, he says. Operations. Same thing at a certain level. She considers this. At a certain level, she agrees. The conversation opens. They talk for 40 minutes. The mall around them is ordinary. Tuesday morning pace, mostly retirees, a few parents with strollers. She is present to none of it. Her attention is fully here. He notices this the way he notices everything, without remarking on it, without performing the noticing. She asks questions that are good, not socially good, structurally good. When he says something incomplete, she waits for the rest before responding. When he says something she disagrees with, she doesn't perform agreement. She says, I'm not sure that's right. Then she says why. She is right about why. Asterisk. She is doing exactly what I do, reading the structure under the surface of the conversation, testing whether what I say and what I actually think are the same thing. She is not interested in the performance of intelligence. She is checking for the real thing. I have been in thousands of conversations. I can count on one hand the people who have done this. Before they part, he says, I want to show you something, if you're willing to make time. She waits. Not today, but I think you'd find it useful. She holds his gaze for a moment, running the full assessment behind composed eyes, the same discipline he saw in the elevator. Then she gives him her number, not because she trusts him, because she is interested, and she learned a long time ago, through exactly the kind of career she has built entirely alone, that interest postponed without a real reason is just fear dressed in professional clothes. A private dining room, one of his hospitality properties in the West Loop, no announcement of ownership, clean lines, one long table, two chairs across from each other, a single folder on the table between them. He does not open it. He asks her what she knows about steel construction's bid history on city contracts over the last 4 years. She answers carefully. What she knows, what she has been told, and then, without being prompted, without being led, she identifies the gaps herself. 3 areas of the company's financials where the numbers she has access to don't match what she observes on job sites. Equipment costs that don't reconcile. Labor hours logged against output that doesn't add up. Certification timelines that are cleaner on paper than they have any operational right to be. She names all 3, precisely, without drama. Asterisk. She already knows something is wrong. She has been living inside the shape of the thing for 14 months without being allowed to see the thing itself. She has been running her hand along the wall in the dark, and she knows the wall is wrong, and she has not yet been given the light. He opens the folder. Labor records, suppressed worker complaints, 12 of them across 2 years, filed through a city intake system and quietly rerouted before they reach the investigative stage. Financial flows that don't reconcile with reported payroll, the same gap she identified, now with documentation underneath it. Copies of 2 internal city documents from the 2022 investigation. Names. The $340,000 broken down, $180,000 to one official across 11 payments, $95,000 to a second through a contractor intermediary, $65,000 to a third, disbursed as consulting fees to a shell entity registered in Delaware. He places it in front of her the way you place a blueprint you need someone to read. Flat, direct, no performance around the delivery. She reads. She does not react for a long time. The silence is not the silence of shock. It is the silence of someone reorganizing a map they have been carrying for over a year, placing every anomaly they noticed into its correct position, watching the picture assemble itself, understanding now what they were looking at all along. How long have you had this? Long enough. Why are you showing me? Because you are the VP of operations in a company doing this to people, and you don't know it. And I don't think that is a position you would choose to stay in if you understood it completely. Long silence. What do you want from me? I want your help dismantling it correctly, in a way that cannot be suppressed the way it was the first time. 7 simultaneous recipients, legal, investigative, regulatory, no single point of contact that can be bought off or buried. The story reaches all of them at once, or it reaches none of them. She looks at the documents again. She is not reading anymore. She is deciding. Why me specifically? Because you already identified the 3 gaps without knowing what they meant. Because you're in the right position. And because the people running that building have been operating on the assumption that you will remain loyal to the incomplete version of the truth they gave you. I don't think that assumption is accurate. You've been watching me. I've been paying attention. Those aren't the same thing. A beat. Why should I trust you? He doesn't answer immediately. He looks at her the way he looks at everything that matters, without pressure, without performance, from complete stillness. Come with me, he says. Tonight. I want to show you something. That evening, he takes her to the near North Side building, the 60-unit complex. He walks her through it, not as a tour, as a disclosure. This is what I own. This is how I hold it. This is the standard I apply. She reads the building the way she reads everything, looking for the gap between what is presented and what is actually there. She finds none. The quality of the materials is consistent across units that will never be shown to a prospective buyer and units that will. The maintenance is the same on the 4th floor as the 14th. She runs her hand along a door frame on the 9th floor, and it is exactly what it should be. Asterisk. She is checking, not performing the check, actually running it. She wants to know whether what I say about how I build things is reflected in what I have actually built. That is the correct question. That is the only question that matters. Then upstairs. The penthouse is not announced. It is arrived at. Clean lines, dark materials, the lake visible through floor-to-ceiling glass, not decorated for an audience. Arranged for someone who lives here. On the wall, a gold-trimmed architectural blueprint, full sheet, mounted in a thin black frame, no ceremony around it, no spotlight on it, sitting among other things on the wall, the way something sits when it belongs there and doesn't need to explain itself. She stops in front of it, not a polite pause, a full stop, the way you stop in front of something that demands to be read rather than looked at. She reads it. He stands behind her and to the left and does not speak. He watches her read. She takes 3 minutes. She moves closer at one point, leaning in to look at something in the lower right quadrant, a detail most people would walk past without registering. Her head tilts slightly. She is seeing something. Asterisk. She found it. The column decision in the northeast corner. The one that shouldn't have worked and worked anyway, because I understood the low distribution in a way the conventional approach didn't account for. It took me 2 weeks to work that out. She found it in under 4 minutes by reading the paper. She straightens, turns to look at him. This is your first building. Not a question. Yes. You made a decision here. She indicates the lower right quadrant without touching the paper. That most engineers wouldn't have made. Most engineers would have been right not to make it. But you understood something they didn't. I understood the specific conditions of that specific site. The conventional approach wasn't wrong in general. It was wrong for that building, on that ground, with those materials. I spent 2 weeks being certain before I committed. She looks at the blueprint again, at the whole of it now, not the detail. You keep it because it cost you something, she says. I keep it because the thing that made it work was honesty about what I knew and what I didn't, about what the structure could actually bear and what it couldn't. The moment I stop being honest about that, the moment I let confidence substitute for verification, the building fails. It's always the building that tells the truth. She is quiet for a long time. She turns and looks at the city through the glass. The lake is dark now. The lights of the North Shore stretch along the waterline. If I help you with this, she says, my name is going to be in the story. There is no version of this where it isn't. Yes, my professional reputation, will be in the frame for a period of time. Then it will be clear what you did inside that building, how you operated, what you asked for, what you refused to sign off without. That will be part of the record. The journalism will establish it. You're certain of that? I'm certain that I will make it part of the record. Whether you trust that depends on whether you believe what you've seen tonight. She looks at the blueprint one more time, at the column decision in the northeast corner, at the cost of building something correctly. Asterisk. She is reading everything the same way she read that paper, looking for the gap between what is presented and what is actually there. I have nothing to hide from that reading. That is either enough or it isn't. She turns to face him. All right, she says. Show me what you have. The year unfolds. May feeds Daniel operational intelligence from inside steel, carefully, precisely, with the discipline of someone who understands that one visible fingerprint ends the entire operation. She is meticulous. He is patient. They meet when it makes sense. When they meet, it is professional. When it is professional, it is also something else neither of them names. He sends her a copy of a structural engineering case study, a 1968 Chicago high-rise, a low distribution error, caught before collapse, the decisions that caught it, a sticky note on the cover. Asterisk, read pages 14-22. Asterisk, no explanation. She reads them. She texts back 3 days later. Asterisk, you were right about the column spacing. He doesn't reply. She smiles at her phone and performs the smile for no one. 2 weeks later, she sends him a document, a zoning variance application from 1971 that resolved a dispute almost identical to a situation Gold Construction is navigating currently. No note. He calls her the next morning. Where did you find this? She says, I look for things. He says, I know. That is the whole conversation. She calls him once at 11:14 p.m. on a Wednesday. not about steel. Her mother had a setback in therapy, a fall, minor, but frightening. She is not calling for solutions. She is talking to someone who will not try to solve what doesn't need solving. Daniel listens. He does not offer what she hasn't asked for. He does not redirect to practical action. He stays on the line until she is finished. When she has said everything she needed to say, he says, "Call me if anything changes." That is all. 3 days later, a car and driver appears for Eliana Lopez's Thursday appointment. No note, no explanation attached. May knows exactly where it came from the moment she sees it. She does not thank him. She sends a 2-word text. Asterisk, she liked him. She means the driver. He understands immediately. He sends back. Asterisk, good. Asterisk. That is the entire exchange. He starts asking her questions about goal construction, framed as hypothetical at first. What would she look for in a CEO candidate? What does operational standard mean inside a construction company? Not in the abstract, specifically. What is the difference between a company that delivers and a company that delivers correctly? Her answers are specific. They are not the answers of someone performing competence. They are the answers of someone who has been thinking about these questions for years and has never been in a room where they were worth asking. She does not pretend. She doesn't know she's being evaluated. He knows she knows. Neither of them says this. The conversation is more honest for what it doesn't need to name. Asterisk. What a person does when nothing is required reveals everything. She is inside a difficult operation, under real professional risk, feeding me information that could end her career if it surfaces wrong. And she is simultaneously sending me a zoning document she found because she thought it would be useful. No audience, no credit, no outcome guaranteed. That is character, not performance of character. Character. 8 months in. The evidence package is complete. Daniel's legal network, 3 firms, 2 investigators, 1 forensic accountant, has built a case that cannot be suppressed through the channels still used in 2022. The 7 recipients are identified. The release protocol is ready. He is 30 days from execution. Then May calls. They offered me the COO position. He is quiet. The current COO is being pushed out. The acquisition closes in Q3. They want someone loyal inside the decision-making circle before it does. Someone who won't ask certain questions. Yes. Or someone who gives them the appearance of clean operations before the deal closes. Both. Yes. A beat. If I take it, I'm in the room where the acquisition decisions are made. I have access to the final financial package, the one they haven't shown me yet. That's what we're missing. That's also a target on you if this goes wrong. COO of record is a different exposure than VP. I know what it is. May. I know what I'm deciding, Daniel. He holds the phone. He is not deciding whether to stop her. He made that decision the night she looked at the blueprint and said, asterisk. All right? Asterisk. He is deciding whether he has been completely honest with her about what this cost at this level. The journalism will establish your position, he says. But there is a period before it does. Your name will be in the initial coverage as COO of record. That period lasts weeks, not days. I want you to understand that is what you are walking into. I understand it. Do you ever ask the people who work for you whether they know what they're deciding? She says. Her voice is even, not defensive. Asking a real question. The ones I'm trying to protect, yes. The line is quiet for a moment. Asterisk. That is the first time either of us has named what this is, and we didn't name it directly. We named the thing adjacent to it. She heard it. I heard it. The floor changed, and neither of us acknowledged the floor changing. That is two people who understand that some things are more real when they're not said. She accepts the COO title 3 days later. She does not stop working with Daniel. The story breaks on a Thursday morning at 7:02 a.m. Labor Board, City Ethics Commission. Two investigative journalists, one at the Tribune, one at a national outlet that has been building the story independently for 6 months. A federal inquiry into the suppression payments. The evidence package reaches all 7 recipients inside a 4-minute window. There is no single point that can be bought. No single story that can be killed. By the time Steele's legal team is assembled, the coverage is already everywhere. Steele Construction Group is on every screen by 8 a.m. The C-suite retains attorneys by Friday. 3 executives receive formal notices the following Tuesday. The company enters regulatory receivership 11 days after the story breaks. May's name is in the initial coverage, not as a perpetrator, as a C-suite member of record. Her name, her photograph, taken at a city contract signing 8 months earlier before any of this, running beside the headline. Her professional reputation, the things she built entirely alone across 11 years, inside a frame she did not choose and cannot immediately correct. She knew this was possible. She made the choice anyway. That does not make the moment cost less. Daniel watches the story break from his phone on a Tuesday morning, parked outside an apartment building with a delivery bag in the back seat. He reads it once, then he calls her. She picks up on the first ring. "It held," she says, somewhere quiet, the composure of someone who decided how to carry difficult things long before they arrived. It held. A long silence. "My mother saw my name," she says. What did she say? She said she already knew. Another silence. Longer. "Daniel." "Yeah. I need you to come here." He's already moving. He arrives. She is standing at the window of her apartment, the city below her. Late morning light coming in flat and gray. The lake flat and still at the edge of everything. He crosses the room and stands next to her. Their shoulders almost touching. She doesn't speak. He doesn't perform anything. He is present, completely, without a fraction of his attention distributed elsewhere. Not managing the situation, not calculating the next move, simply here, in this room, with her. Her head rests against his shoulder. The gesture happens before either of them has decided it. The way things happen when the decision was made months ago, and the body is simply catching up to what the mind already knew. Neither of them moves for a long time. Asterisk actions are expressions, not tools. What she did over this year, what it cost her, what she protected, the precision with which she moved through an operation that required her to be simultaneously inside the thing and working to dismantle it. That was not performance, not strategy, not calculation. That was the honest outward form of who she actually is. I have been watching it since an elevator on a Tuesday morning, and I have never once looked away. Not because I decided to watch, because there was nothing else worth looking at. The city moves below them. Neither of them says anything for a long time. Then, after a while, she lifts her head, looks at him. What happens now? He doesn't answer immediately. He looks at the city. We build something, the company, among other things. She looks at him,